Witching hour, and I think it's time for us to get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeremy Wilson, the director here at the Harris Center. Thanks to all of you for coming. It's so wonderful to see all these faces out there, and we're so grateful for all of the support that you provide, helping the Harris Center keep on its tracks. We have a really fun celebration of last year planned. I did a quick count, and I think we're broadcasting tonight from 6 towns and at least 10 locations. What could go wrong? We'll see. Hopefully we'll pull it off. We thought we'd get started tonight by showing a beautiful film featuring 2 of the Harris Center's real land conservation gems. So this is a video that includes the Hiroshi land in Peterborough and also Robb Reservoir in Stoddard. I really love this film because it celebrates how beautiful this region is. Even during the shoulder season between autumn and winter, when I've heard many people describe life here as pretty bleak. So it's just a beautiful sense of the season that we're moving into. This short film was gifted to us by a local filmmaker and photographer, Dan Kennedy, with a poem and music written and performed by local artist Adam Arnone from Echofinch. I'm going to start up the film.
Under the shade of a giant oak, listening to the pulse of everything. Mighty wings, gentle shores, falling leaves in winter's wind. There is calm in the soil, untouched here by destructive machines. There is history and understanding, ant kingdoms of wild construction, colors above and below. There are spaces that exist to connect the ones that breathe. Balancing noise and awe, and there are stones unturned with mystery underneath, waiting for hands to look and wonder. These trails are your canvas to paint and dream, learn and run, walk and find. Time is slow. And the days settle into night, with the chorus of the living welcoming those that have just arrived. The cycle is a season, and the season is a life. The forest is the beginning, and the forest will be the end. The land is the beginning, and the land will be the end. The rivers are the beginnings, and the rivers are the end.
Wow, well, it's just a beautiful reminder of why we all love this region so much. Thanks so much to Dan and Adam for putting that together and for the Harris Center. I'm going to turn things over to Karen Bennett, who is the chair of the Harris Center board, and she's going to deal with some board business at this annual meeting.
Great, thank you, Jeremy, and all. Welcome. It's kind of hard to follow such a lovely video, but I'll do my best. I'd like to start by thanking our incredible staff for continuing to conduct amazing programming in a challenging year. You'll hear more highlights about our program staff and volunteers later. I feel my job now is to remind you that we have a very talented, committed, and engaged board who does a lot of behind-the-scenes work that contributes to the Harris Center's financial and organizational stability. In addition to regular board meetings, we do our work through 9 very active committees. This year, we were particularly busy working with staff on a 5-year strategic plan. One fun and exciting job we had was for us to review innovative staff project proposals to the 50th Fund. Later, you'll hear about a few of the 7 projects we funded thanks to your generosity. This year's board, though we haven't met in person all year and even longer, was a solid team. And thank you to all listed on these slides. Next, I'd like to introduce the officers for the coming year. The chairperson will be myself, Karen Bennett. Jim Hassinger will be the vice chair, Dan Langeal, the secretary, and Sandy Green, the treasurer. I'm also pleased to welcome 2 new trustees who bring a wealth of experiences, knowledge, and skills to the board. Stephen Lamont, pictured on the left, lives in Hancock and is an educator, ecologist, and a geospatial technologist. And if you don't know what that means, ask him when you see him. He's a popular Harris Center instructor. Stephen joins the Land and Conservation Research Committees. Ethan Harper Lintricchia has a CPA business in Peterborough and resides in Greenfield. I'm told he has the Harris Center in his blood, having regularly attended the Wolf's Nest as a youth. Ethan joins our Finance Committee. So welcome, Stephen and Ethan, and I look forward to working with you this coming year and in the future. And I look forward to meeting with you in person someday. So now for a less pleasant task, saying goodbye to 3 valued trustees. Thank you to David Sobel, Tim Jordan, and Carol Young for their service on the board. During David Sobel's time on the board, he brought his particular expertise on childhood development, outdoor education, and curriculum development to our work in the schools with youth and with teachers. Tim Jordan brought his analytical and no-nonsense thinking and knowledge of finances to the board. He was a member of our audit, community programs, and conservation research committees. And Carol Young is an educator in the Conval School District and brought her deep understanding of how we can best serve the needs of schools, students, and teachers. She chaired our Conservation Research Committee and participated in the school committee. David, Tim, and Carol, we will miss your insights and perspectives. As a gesture of our appreciation, thanks, and esteem, we're giving each of you an autographed copy of A Deep Presence by Robert Goodby. We hope you enjoy it. And now I have the pleasure of turning our program over to Karen Rent, who will introduce our Educator of the Year.
Thank you, Karen. 2 Karens in a row. Exciting. I am really excited and grateful that I get to work alongside this year's Educator of the Year, Robin Fairfield. I've been collaborating with Robin, a kindergarten teacher at Marlborough Elementary School, for the past few years, offering lessons focused on squirrels, animal senses, and forest ecology. What makes Robin stand out to me is her commitment to providing opportunities every single day for her kindergarten students to get outside to explore, investigate, and play. After Robin and her coworkers read Last Child in the Woods 6 years ago, she realized how little time children spend outside. She shared with me that as a child, she played in the woods or her neighborhood from sunup to sundown. Her fondest memories are being outside. When asked what inspired her at a young age, Robin said, whenever I get upset or whenever I was upset, I would go outside, usually near water, and just breathe and clear my head and ground myself again. Feeling motivated to provide the same opportunity for her students, Robin began regular walks with her students on the trail behind the school. They discovered a special place, also near the water. And after visiting that same spot every day, building shelters and building roots, that spot in the woods called the village, turned into a very special place. Since then, she's been visiting that same spot in the woods called the village with her students every day in all seasons, often in a collection of boots and coats that Robin has gathered to make sure that every single student was warm and comfortable. Robin doesn't really like to be in the limelight, so I thought that I would end by sharing a simple story. And it's a story that I shared with my colleagues, which helped influence our decision to make her our Educator of the Year this year. So I was waiting outside of Marlboro Elementary last fall. It was the start of the pandemic teaching year. I was feeling uncertain about how to teach during these unprecedented times, and I was feeling really nervous about how the students would adjust to a different learning environment. I was nervous about my kids going to school and teaching in that environment as well. In my mind, things felt really strange and unsettled. As I was waiting outside the school before meeting another class, I saw Robin arrive outside with her students. They were laughing, they were joyful, and they were so excited to get outside. Many chose to roll down this grassy hill right outside the school, and Robin rolled right down the hill next to them, laughing right alongside them. I always remember that single act because it made me feel like the world was still okay. And I think her students will remember having a teacher that showed them how to feel at home in nature and how to love being outside just as much as she does. So thank you, Robin. Thank you for helping to nurture the next generation of nature lovers. So Robin, I would love it if you were interested to share a few words.
I just want to say thank you to Karen and coming out to help me teach the kids about nature and everything. And I'm very humbled by this. Like she said, I don't like to be in the limelight. I want to be with the children and just see them explore and have just a wonderful time, whether outside in the woods or on the playground. And I'm just humbled by this. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. I feel lucky as well. Now we're going to pass it over to Brett.
Hey, everyone. I get the honor of sharing a few highlights from this past year. So much has gone on this year. It would be impossible to share it all, but we've got a few slides to share some of the great things that happened this year, where creativity and flexibility were the order of the day, for sure. So we'll start with our school program, where our teacher naturalists continued to provide environmental education lessons to thousands of local students in 31 different schools. They also developed a nature journaling curriculum for use by classroom teachers and homeschool families that is available on our website. And here's Jamie Hutchinson doing some nature journaling out in the field. There was a lot of outdoor teaching in all kinds of weather, such as here at Temple Elementary School over the winter. Many lessons were in person and outdoors. Some were fully online, and some, like this one, were both. Here is our teacher naturalist, John Benjamin, doing hybrid teaching with Great Brook School 8th graders. So he's teaching in person and remotely at the same time. You note the computer that is set up in the field. We also had after school programs, including our really popular Lab Girls program, which was held via Zoom with girls participating from all over New Hampshire and some from other states and even other countries. And in this, we even offered summer sessions this year for both middle schoolers and high schoolers. And we provided workshops for classroom teachers in the beginning of last school year, more than for 300 local classroom teachers, to help them become more comfortable with taking their teaching outside, where virus transmission rates are lower. And then a smaller group of teachers also met monthly with Harris Center naturalists as part of a more time outside professional learning group. In our community programs, of course, there were many Zooms, which was wonderful because it enabled us to bring speakers from as far away as Veracruz, Mexico, and to have audiences from all over the country, and even places like Germany, Sweden, and Canada. As we mentioned earlier, one of our really popular offerings was Ask a Naturalist, our virtual happy hour, where people send in their natural history mysteries, and a team of our naturalists with all different areas of expertise try to answer questions. We did that about once a month for the first year of the pandemic, and now we're down to seasonally. So our autumn edition is actually next Thursday if you'd like to join us. But overall, we felt the Zoom programming was really popular, and we're going to continue to do it even as we are able to offer more in-person programming again. We also found other creative remote ways to help people connect with nature, such as the Celebrate Turtles coloring contest with wildlife artist Matt Patterson. And this is one of our winners, the Wood Turtle by Stella Arnone, 4th grade at Peterborough Elementary School. And then when things started to open up, both weather-wise and COVID-wise in the spring and summer, we were really excited to be able to add small group in-person outings back to our roster of community programs. It was just such a joy to be enjoying nature together again. So here's a picture from one of our pop-up birding outings to look for short-eared owls, a relatively rare bird for us locally that we're spending a few weeks hunting at the Keene Airport back in March. We also got creative with really interesting partnerships. Like this one was was Flying Gravity Circus, which is a youth circus who performed their Circus in the Woods on the Harris Center grounds back in May. And then this summer, for the Night Owls Among Us, we did moth lighting with the folks from the Caterpillar Lab late night. Excellent Caterpillar educators. And this was a really special program and a true honor for us to work with the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire to offer this history hike to Jack's Pond, which is a pond that has been protected by the Harris Center and is named for Jack, who was a once enslaved African who gained his freedom and lived in Hancock in the late 1700s and early 1800s. And here are people learning about that. Of course, we had summer camp, and it was really exciting to return to summer camp again. We had to have smaller groups, about half the number of campers as we usually do for COVID precautions, but everyone was really glad to be back together again, and our counselors kept up the camper spirits through lots and lots of rain. Thankfully, it didn't rain every day. We also added a special amphibian and reptile conservation camp this year. So our campers learned from local experts and had some great days exploring Norway Pond and McDowell Reservoir. On our community science and conservation research front, our salamander brigades had a record year. We had more volunteers participating in our salamander brigades than ever before, with 450 people attending our training, which was via Zoom this year, and or heading out on rainy nights in search of salamanders in the spring. We had people attend our training from 10 different states, which was a first for us. Collectively, we provided safe passage for nearly 8,000 frogs and salamanders throughout southern New Hampshire, which brings our project total to more than 61,000 amphibians since 2007. And we also, again, worked with the city of Keene to close the North Lincoln Street crossing site to vehicles on migration nights to protect those amphibians. Still the only place a road has been closed for the protection of migrating amphibians anywhere in the Granite State. We also launched a really exciting new project with Hawk Mountain of Pennsylvania, where Phil Brown led a group of volunteers searching for broadwing hawk nests in and around the super sanctuary. And then these Hawk Mountain biologists were able to affix satellite or cellular transmitters to 3 of those hawks, as you can see here. We named them Thelma, Monadnock, and Harris. And this is a map. Those satellite transmitters are going to provide really incredible information about their migration routes and overwintering habitat. And this is a map from this morning that shows where our hawks, as well as some other tagged hawks, are right now. So you can see that Monadnock is in Mexico, and it looks like Harris and Thelma have already made it to Nicaragua. We were also really excited this year after a pandemic-related pause in 2020 to start up our conservation internship program with Keene State again in the summer of 2021. Our interns did all sorts of amazing work for us, including forest inventory, salamander surveys. They helped with trail work and summer camp and so much more. This is them during their very first week of the internship, learning how to identify invasive plants with Harris Center staff ecologist and Keene State faculty mentor Karen Seaver. This is just a bit of an aside, I suppose, but here's yours truly and my husband, Russ, who were involved in a very dramatic loon rescue this summer as well, right on Harris Center land in Harrisville. And I'm happy to report that that loon and its mate and both of its chicks are all still alive and well today. I just saw one of them feeding its chick this morning. Our volunteers continued undaunted, tending the pollinator garden and grounds and helping with all sorts of tasks, including invasive plant management. So this is a picture from our barberry pulling party at the Bailey Brook Trail in August with the Nelson Conservation Commission. And volunteers also, as I said, they help with trail maintenance and also special projects like installing new tent platforms at 2 of our remote campsites on Spoonwood Pond, which makes for a much more comfortable camping experience out there now. Underneath it all, of course, is the beauty of our protected lands and waters, 24,000 acres available for wildlife and people alike in all seasons. This is our Scatutiki Summit. That was. Okay, so moving on to the 50th Fund, which has been a really exciting for all of us. Thanks to the generosity of the donors to the 50th Fund, we've put this fund to good use with 7 projects and counting, including the publication of this new book, A Deep Presence, 13,000 Years of Native American History by local archaeologist, Dr. Robert Goodby, which was published in partnership with the Historical Society of Cheshire County and is hot off the presses. We also were able to install a Modus Tower on our Granite Lake Headwaters property in Stoddard, which enables us to join a cutting-edge research network focused on the study of winged migration of small animals like songbirds and bats. And we were able to install automatic door openers to our entryway and accessible bathroom, allowing folks to enter the Harris Center with ease. And lastly, just a photo of Spoonwood, Nubanuset, and surrounding conservation lands taken just a few days ago to celebrate fall. So happy fall, everyone. And I'm going to turn it back to Jeremy now.
Great. Thank you, Brett. What beautiful pictures. Well, the extraordinary Harris Center staff surprised me once again last year, overcoming COVID challenges with their creativity, adaptability, and maybe most importantly, humor. A huge thanks to each and every one of you. We have a couple new staff members to introduce tonight, which is very exciting. Here's our list of the full staff list, but we have 2 new staff members I just want to introduce you to tonight. So the first is Ben King. He's a teacher naturalist. Ben has both taught at and directed environmental education programs in California and Ohio. He's also worked as a whitewater raft guide in Colorado and Montana, and as a ski and snowboard technician in Washington. But it's here in New Hampshire that he and his wife, Lindsay, chose to put down roots, quite literally, as they run a small farm in Peterborough. Eric Swope has joined us to help with maintenance in and around the building. Eric worked for 21 years at the City of Keene's Public Works Department. There he regulated wastewater discharges of businesses, sampled wastewater, groundwater, and surface water, and ran various public education initiatives. As you can see, we're finally putting the Harris Center's composting toilets in the hands of a real expert after too many years in the hands of novices. Eric is also the star of and the singer in a critically acclaimed short film that you can find on YouTube called "Don't Flush That." It's pretty funny if you want to take a look at that. So welcome to both Ben and Eric. We have one staff member who's reached a yearly milestone. So we like to honor staff members who are in 5-year increments of their work at the Harris Center. And it's hard to believe, but Jamie Hutchinson has been with the Harris Center for 15 years. Jamie is an extraordinary teacher naturalist who is often described as our preschool specialist. You would know this if you had ever seen Jamie leading a scurry of preschool chipmunks through the woods. A scurry is a group of chipmunks, by the way. But Jamie does much more than that. She works in the Jaffrey Grade School. She's essential to our winter vacation and summer camp programs, as well as our professional development offerings. And most importantly, she keeps the Harris Center on track with the celebration of staff birthdays. You can't imagine all the ways that a birthday card circulating for notes and signatures can get lost in one building. I would like to take just a moment to acknowledge Stephen Froling's 17 years of service to the Harris Center. Stephen joined the Harris Center's board in 2004 and has been volunteering with us since then as our corporate counsel. Stephen has an incredible passion for land protection and has been essential in making high-profile projects like the Purse Reservation, Robb Reservoir, the conserved corridor between Spoonwood Pond and Route 9, the Silver Lake Watershed Conservation Projects, and many, many, many others that allowed the land program to more than double in conserved acres during his tenure. So thank you so much, Stephen, for all of your extraordinary service to the Harris Center. Now I'd like to introduce Eric Masterson, and he's going to thank some more of our really extraordinary volunteers.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm constantly inspired by the work of volunteers and what they give to the community through their work with the Harris Center. And there is no better example than Jack McWhorter. A little more than a year ago, Jack was hard at work as part of a volunteer crew clearing the summit of Scatutucky Mountain. And on the way back down, he passed a fallen maple. Now, to you and me, if you're clearing trails and views, a fallen maple is something to be moved out of the way. Not so with Jack. As many of you know, he's an extraordinary wood carver. Rick made a passing reference. Rick Haskins, who's our volunteer of the year from last year, and was helping with the clearing, the view clearing that day, made a passing reference to what use Jack might put the maple in his studio, and the rest is history. I think of it as a phantasmagoria of Lewis Carroll proportions, welcoming hikers as they ascend to the summit. It's not often we get to use the word unique in its intended usage, but it is my great pleasure to recognize Jack's unique contributions through his work on the trails this last year and continuing. So I'm going to hand it over to Jack to say a few words. Thank you, Jack.
Well, thank you, and thanks to the Harris Center for this award and for the opportunity to work on your trees. They were a great COVID project. I would urge people to join Eric's trail clearing cruise. Maybe then they too can become inspired as I was. I would also like to thank Rick Haskins. He was the one that challenged me, and then my wife came along and urged me to take up the challenge, which I did. And that at first was the dragon, and then we did the snake, and then the salamander. And then, of course, this year we did the frog. Susie Spickle was the person that urged me on to do the two below, the snake and the salamander. But I would also like to bring out that it was her son, David, who carved the back spines on the dragon. And then, of course, we have Brett Thalen, who painted the yellow dots on the salamander, and I believe those are the fingerprint of her favorite or longest lasting salamander, which she copied onto my salamander. So thank you all, and thanks to the Harris Center. It's been a real privilege.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Phil Brown now.
Hello, I'm Phil Brown. I'm the Hawk Watch coordinator with the Harris Center, and it's my honor to present yet another Volunteer Extraordinaire Award. This one going to long-term Hawk Watch volunteer Tom Delaney. So Tom Delaney has been a familiar face up at Pac-Monadnock in Peterborough since about 2007. He and his wife Janet have been longtime core volunteers and are sustaining donors of this Harris Center project, which is now in its 17th season. Tom's presence brings a smile to every hawk watcher who sees him walk down the path to the platform with his scope over his shoulder and his hawk hat atop his head. He provides great company and conversation, a warm smile, and of course, great bird finding abilities. But he also sometimes shows up with wild edible mushrooms that he has harvested himself. And he gladly shares those with the counter. His mushroom soups at the observatory's big soup contests are always true culinary delights. When Tom isn't busily finding and identifying distant specks over North Pack in his scope, he's warmly greeting visitors. He's truly making each person to the Hawk Watch feel more welcome. Often he provides some depth about the observations of the day, tells visitors a little bit about migration, and answers the timeless question, what is the owl for? Referring to the plastic owl that is used as a lure for the migrating hawks. Tom's childlike enthusiasm for raptor migration is admirable and contagious. He sometimes serves as the official counter for the observatory, and he recently bore witness to the largest turkey vulture flight in the history of the project. A week earlier, Tom was witness to the largest passage of sharp-shinned hawks in the history of the project, an amazing 237 in one day. After an 8-hour day atop the mountain, well past the time that he was allotted to be on the mountain that day, and he did call Janet to let her know. It was about 5 o'clock, 5:30 p.m. We hadn't yet realized, but we were just 2 sharp-shins short of a daily record for the entire state of New Hampshire. When we found out that news and I shared that with Tom, his response was, "We should have stayed until 6." So he truly has a young heart and has that childlike enthusiasm. So in honor of Tom's long-term commitment and dedication to the Pac-Man-Adnock Raptor Observatory and to the Harris Center, I am proud to recognize him on behalf of the entire community as a volunteer extraordinaire. Congrats, Tom.
Okay, thank you very much, Phil. They were very kind words. I've really enjoyed being a volunteer, helping this year you and Levi as the official counters, and working with all of the other volunteers. We have so many of them, and over the years, I've developed lasting friendships with all of them. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tom. I'll turn it over to Jeremy Wilson now.
Terrific. Congratulations to the award winners, and thank you so much for all that you do for the Harris Center. The Bobcats Forever Legacy Society is made up of supporters of the Harris Center who have included the Harris Center in their estate plans. We are so grateful to have our Bobcats Forever friends who have, through this legacy, become a permanent part of the Harris Center's success and future. And I just want to give you a sense for the magnitude of this and how and the generosity that's involved. Just to give you a sense of this, most of the Harris Center growth that we've been able to accomplish, not all of it, but most of it, over the last 10 years, has been made possible because of of generous gifts from Bobcats Forever members. So it's a wonderful program, and I just want to share how grateful we are for all the people who have been involved. Thanks so much. Now I'm going to turn it over to Susie Spickle, who's going to present this year's Partnership Award.
Hi, everybody. What a pleasure I have tonight to present the Laurie Bryan Partnership Award to a town agency that is consistent and creative as a collaborator with the Harris Center. Just a little bit of a background on who Laurie Bryan is. Laurie Bryan was the Harris Center's director from 2009 to 2012. She was all about connecting people and partners, weaving the Harris Center's thread to the community into a brilliant tapestry. Clearly, this award, named in honor of Laurie, is reserved for our partners that go above and beyond what we would ever expect, helping to make what we do here at the Harris Center deeper, stronger, and ultimately more meaningful. So before I present this award tonight, I have to ask all of you if you've ever had a coworker, a friend, a family member, a partner who, when you said, "Hey, I've got this crazy idea," their first and only response to you is, "I'm in." And then when they come to you and say, "Hey, now I've got a crazy idea," you don't even need to think before you say, "Sign me up." Well, tonight I am honored to recognize the creative and collaborative spirit and true partner, the Hancock Town Library, under the excellent leadership of their library director, the dynamic and incomparable Amy Marcus. Together, the Harris Center and the Hancock Town Library have dreamed up and hosted countless programs. Our work together has run the gamut from finding intellectually stimulating talks, such as the history of waterfowl protection in the United States, or New England's coyotes with canine ecologist Chris Shadler, to highlighting the connection between nature and art with programs like The Poetry of Mary Oliver or Singing for Nature with Steve Shook. Our work together has also been playful at times, with such things as an installation in the display cabinet at the library of scat collected across the Monadnock region, or events like a town-wide scavenger hunt during the pandemic, and story walks throughout every season, every year. We've also had fairy and gnome walks. And even we once read and walked, we read To Build a Fire by Jack London and ended with actually building a fire. Luckily, we didn't have to eat any dogs during that program, but we joked about it. So no matter how we collaborate or what we partner on together, the Harris Center can count on Amy Marcus and the staff at the Hancock Town Library to bring passion and energy to each of our shared projects. Tonight's award is a reminder of how valuable and rare really good partnerships are, how when we put our minds together, share our mutual creativity, and work to make programs and opportunities of all types available to people of all ages, we are always more successful than if we worked alone. And so it's truly my pleasure and my honor to recognize the Hancock Towns Library as this year's recipient of the Laurie Bryan Partnership Award, and to acknowledge my own personal gratitude for having such an inspiring partner in Amy Marcus to work with over these past many years. She reminded me today it's been 19 years that she's been there. I hope we have many more years together to make some more wild things happen, Amy. So congratulations to the Hancock Town Library and to Amy Marcus for your leadership. Amy, do you want to say anything?
Well, I want to thank you so much. I'm really honored, especially that it's the Laurie Bryan Award. I love working with Laurie. I've worked with her at the Harris Center and as a select board member. She's incredible. But honestly, the Harris Center is one of our most important community partners. And I have to say it's probably the most fun community partner. We have a lot of, as you said, creative ideas, and it's always kind of fun to bounce them back and forth and see what we're going to come up with. So I do look forward to continuing that, and we'll just take more walks in the woods. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. I just should add that you only see like 4 of our ideas because the rest of them are so crazy we can't even do them, but maybe one day we will. So thank you to Amy and the Hancock Town Library. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy Wilson.
Terrific. Well, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some strategic planning that we've been doing over the last year. And this has really been an effort to chart an exciting future for the organization. And I'm so grateful to all the people who were involved in helping us put that together. Areas of growth in this new plan include expanding our community science and conservation research offerings. For example, adding a new butterfly monitoring project, doing some additional broadwing hawk tagging next spring, and then establishing a nighthawk tracking migration tracking program. The nighthawks pass through in August in huge flocks. So there's excitement in that potential. On the land side, we're really focused on enhancing our land stewardship. Our trails and lands are getting more use than ever. And as the ridiculous rains of last July showed, warming and the associated extreme weather events create complex challenges for their management. The Hare Center is proactively addressing many of these management issues and striving to improve accessibility at the same time. We're also working to broaden our reach throughout the community in a variety of ways. Geographically, we're really thinking about offering programs in places outside of our typical scope of Peterborough and Hancock and a little bit in Keene. So more programs in Jaffrey and other communities, as well as Keene surrounding the area. Demographically, we're focusing on adding more programs to engage teens and young people in the region and learning about and working to help the natural world. And finally, we're continuing our efforts to enhance diversity of our programs, diversity of our presenters, diversity of our partnering organizations, and diversity of our participants. Finally, we're working to develop more programs where we use our educational expertise to teach teachers. For example, we piloted an incredibly successful teacher retreat camp over the summer to help those teachers or the teacher participants build real confidence and skills to get their students outside on their own. So exciting directions for the future. I want to offer a giant thank you to all of our supporters who have made the Harris Center into this remarkable resource that it is today. We hope you'll continue partnering with us to make an even bigger splash in the future. You'll be receiving the latest annual report in the mail next week, so look for that. It's beautifully crafted and it gives you a sense, even more details of what was an extraordinarily busy year for us here at the Harris Center. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton once again to Susie, who's going to finish up the evening with one final film. Thank you so much for coming, and we so appreciate all that you do for the Harris Center.
Thanks, Jeremy. And again, I also want to just thank everybody for being such wonderful supporters of the Harris Center. Yay, love it. And I'm really excited tonight to let you all know something that this person is probably too humble to mention, but we're going to mention it. Eric Masterson was recently awarded a wonderful honor by New Hampshire Audubon. He was given the Goodhue Elkin Award for an individual making outstanding contributions to the study of New Hampshire birds. And the film that we're about to share to end our program this evening is a film that highlights just one of the many ways that Eric has really contributed to our region and beyond to birds and conservation. So this is a film by Salt Project, and they were a recipient in the past of the Laurie Bryan Partnership Award, Liz and Matthew Meyer Bolton. This is a film that was an official selection in 8 film festivals. It's an Emmy Award-winning film in environmental science category in the New England chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. It's a beautiful celebration of Eric, his work, and his passion. And I hope you all enjoy it as much as I always do watching it. So thank you again for coming, and let the film roll.
Hi, I'm Eric Masterson. I grew up in Ireland, and that was where I first discovered the magic of birds. I traveled the world long before I ever left Dublin. I grew up in a pretty gritty part of the country. Dublin's a gritty town. I can remember in May, common swifts. I remember vividly common swifts would appear outside my bedroom window. And I'd go to my globe. I had an inflatable globe, and I would get my field guide, and I would learn that they would spend the winter in the jungles of Africa, the savannas of Africa, and here they were outside my bedroom window. I remember the wheat ears that would pass through on their way to Greenland. I would go with them, at least my mind would go with them, armed with just a field guide, an inflatable globe, and my child's imagination. So later, I would emigrate from Ireland to the US myself. My wife and I moved to southwest New Hampshire. But the birds didn't come with us, obviously. Europe's birds migrate north-south, as do North America's birds, and so I had to learn a whole new cast of characters. But the journeys are just as remarkable. I was on a boat out in the Gulf of Maine, 80 miles offshore, and a flock of 70 golden plovers flew over the bow of the boat. And I watched them for maybe, it couldn't have been more than 2 minutes. And they came into my field of view from the left, and they exited my field of view to the right. And I know these birds. I had read up on their life history. They travel out over the Atlantic non-stop in one continuous flight until they reach land in South America. I was just blown away. I was watching 2 minutes of what has to be one of the most incredible journeys in the world. And it's like a Rorschach test. I think some people might just see a flock of birds, and I felt like I was looking at 2 minutes of just one of the most incredible journeys imaginable. But more often than not, we don't get to see the journey like the golden plovers. We just see its aftermath. I'll be standing at my kitchen window with my coffee in the morning, and I'll look out and I'll see the first aureole of the spring, May 13th, for instance. And I know it wasn't here on May 12th, but it's here on May 13th. And so what I'm seeing is the arrival, and I'm missing this incredible journey that came before that. It's like, I think of visiting Portland, Oregon, to experience the Lewis and Clark expedition. You just can't do it that way. But the real mystery of it is most birds don't travel during the day. Most of them migrate at night to avoid hawks, to use the stars as navigation. Occasionally, on a really busy night, if you use a telescope, you can see one flying across the face of the moon. On good nights, migration will even show up on Doppler radar, but really you don't get to see it. And so you have to learn to see with your ears. On really active nights, step outside your house and cup your hands to your ears and put your face to the skies, and you can hear them as they pass overhead, calling to each other. Scientists don't really know why they do this. Perhaps it's to help them avoid mid-air collisions, like some sort of air traffic control for birds. My yard in New Hampshire is 3 acres of pretty ordinary forest, and yet I've recorded more than 150 species of birds. Really quite incredible. Many of them just spectrograms in the night, and a spectrogram is a visual representation of the bird's call note, like sheep music. I have a collection of these spectrograms. It's honestly like a guest book of these visitors that come to my yard. They don't touch down, they just fly over. Nighttime is a time for dreaming. And as I lay asleep in bed and my recorder is on throughout the night, these birds, hundreds, thousands, millions of them across the continent, passing south over my house, over your house, and they're traveling thousands of miles to faraway lands using the stars as a guide. I wish I had the imagination to dream such an incredible dream. And then I check my voicemails in the morning and I hear these call notes left by these international travelers. And that dream is real.
Poor Eric, looks so embarrassed. Fantastic movie. Thanks for being involved in that, Eric, and it was really fun to be part of it. Thank you everyone for coming. Have a wonderful weekend and hope to see you soon at a Harris Center event.